Lately, you've been hearing the term rare earth elements, REEs, everywhere, right? Especially as electric vehicles, EVs, and the transition to green energy accelerate, this term has gained critical importance. But let's be honest, most of us are asking, what exactly are they? How important are they? And why is everyone suddenly talking about them? Let me give you the answer right away. Yes, these elements are right at the center of your life. And yes, we should be slightly concerned due to political and economic reasons. Let's start with a question. Where exactly are REEs located? Take a look at the periodic table. We're talking about 17 elements mysteriously tucked away in that obscure area, usually the lanthanide series, scandium, yttrium, neodymium, dysprosium, terbium, and others. They don't have much purpose on their own. Their magic appears when they are combined with other materials. You add them to an alloy, and that alloy suddenly becomes stronger, gains magnetic properties, becomes incredibly heat resistant, or converts invisible light into colored light, debunking the rarity myth. By the way, despite their name, these elements are actually not that rare. Cerium, for instance, is more abundant in the Earth's crust than copper. What makes them rare is the scarcity of high concentration, clean ore deposits that can be extracted in an economically profitable way. And this is exactly where the crisis begins. REEs in our daily lives. These elements might sound abstract, but they're actually in every device you hold. Let me give you concrete examples to move away from the abstract. The global market for REEs primarily focuses on three main areas: magnets, catalysts, and metallurgical alloys. 1. Defense and aerospace industry. In the defense sector, these elements are a necessity. They are used everywhere, from radar systems to missile guidance. An F-35 fighter jet uses 418 kilograms of REEs, not just for magnets, but also for sensors and electronics. Or a Virginia-class submarine uses 4.6 tons. These are vital components that ensure the precision and durability of defense systems. Another vital example, jet engines. The engine blades need to operate at temperatures normally higher than the melting point of metal. To achieve this, high-performance, melt-resistant coatings are necessary. These coatings require specialized ceramic films, NREA-stabilized zirconia, containing yttrium and REE. So, without these elements, it's simply not possible to have a modern jet engine. 2. Magnets, the largest share. The best example, neodymium magnets. When neodymium is combined with boron and iron, it forms the strongest permanent magnet on Earth. Consumer electronics. Your headphones or the tiny speakers in your smartphone? Neodymium magnets allow you to achieve high volume and high sensitivity from such a minuscule space. They are even the magnets that provide that satisfying snap when you close covers. Automotive sector. When you get into your car, your seat adjustments, electric windows. The small motors that move all these components work thanks to these rare earth magnets. Even the mechanisms that rapidly deploy airbags contain REEs. If you can't find REEs, your modern life grinds to a halt. Electric vehicles, EVs, and robotics. The motors in factory robots, and especially in electric vehicle motors, rely on these incredibly powerful magnets for their efficiency. These magnets allow the motor to achieve higher torque and power while reducing its size. When you look at a chart comparing the power of traditional magnets with RE magnets, you clearly see the difference. This magnetic power is essential for all kinds of movement: speakers, microphones, and high-efficiency motors. 3. Catalysts, lasers, and lighting. REEs are not just magnets. Cerium and lanthanum are critical catalysts used in oil refining and in vehicle catalytic converters to reduce exhaust emissions. Furthermore, the phosphors terbium, europium, used to create colors in LED lamps and plasma screens, are REEs. High-powered military and industrial lasers also rely on elements like neodymium and holmium. The dirty secret: China's monopoly and environmental cost. Now we come to the most critical and political part. When you look at where these elements are mined, the vast majority comes from China. 69% of the total volume extracted globally comes from China. However, the truly critical point is the processing phase, because 91% of the global supply of finished processing facilities, where REEs are purified from the ore and turned into the final product, is located in China. The situation is not limited to REEs either. China dominates other critical minerals that go into batteries, such as lithium, graphite, and cobalt. Years ago, they decided to become the dominant player in these supply chains, and succeeded through state subsidies and low environmental standards. But here, let's debunk the myth again. Despite their name, rare earth elements are actually not that rare. There are significant reserves underground. While China has massive reserves, there are also very large reserves in Brazil, India, and Australia. So why is most of the mining done in China? The answer lies in Bayan Obo, the largest mine in China. This mine, thanks to its massive scale and state-supported operational structure, produces at an incredibly low cost. Environmental catastrophe. Mining rare earth elements is a truly dirty process. You have to go through about 100 different chemical processes, chemical bath, solvent extraction, from the ore until it becomes the final metal. Radioactive waste. REE ores are often mixed with radioactive elements like thorium and uranium. During extraction and purification, these radioactive wastes accumulate in large volume tailings dams. The long-term storage and management of this radioactive waste is the biggest environmental and legal cost that prevents other countries from entering this industry. Carbon emissions. These complex chemical processes also require high energy. To give you an idea, we know how carbon-intensive steel production is, right? But look at the carbon emission of neodymium, the main element in magnets. Per kilogram, more carbon emissions come from REEs than from all other metals in the world. Due to this high environmental cost, other countries say, we don't want to do this dirty business in our country, and leave the job to China. The trade war. When REEs become a chip. Thanks to this pollution and massive scale, China can produce at a much lower cost than almost anyone else. Because we can buy cheap Chinese REEs, our headphones and electric vehicles remain relatively affordable. Now we come to the most sensitive point. Geopolitical leverage. China is using this critical component as a leverage point, announcing that it will impose export restrictions, licensing quotas, especially against Western countries. In response, threats of additional tariffs of up to 100% on Chinese goods are coming from the U.S. It seems that the trade war we talked about earlier could flare up again. And REEs are becoming one of the most crucial bargaining chips on the table. China is restricting this critical component that almost no one else produces. But does the U.S. have a similar card up its sleeve? In North Carolina, there's a place called Spruce Pine. It doesn't extract REEs, but something even more unique. Ultra-high purity quartz. This is the super pure sand needed to make the wafers that go into silicon chips and solar panels. Without this quartz, you can't make silicon chips or solar panels. Perhaps the U.S. will have to consider whether it can play the same game with this critical component as China is doing with its mines on the other side of the world. Conclusion. Diversity and recycling are essential. The REE crisis clearly exposes the fragility of modern technology. Being so dependent on a single country carries not only economic, but also national security risks. China's monopoly over the production of these elements is forcing the Western world to open its own mines, establish processing facilities, and find solutions to this pollution problem. However, the long-term solution is not just about opening new mines, but also about developing recycling and circular economy solutions. Recovering REEs, particularly from scrapped electric vehicle batteries and electronic waste, is vital for future supply security. The only thing we know for sure is that we are on a volatile journey, and geopolitical tensions like these will only increase in the coming months and years.